the author of Tom Cruise, an unauthorized biography. Good morning to you, Andrew.
Good morning. Yes.
Talk about generating a firestorm. England, Australia, New Zealand reportedly aren't even publishing this book because of libel laws in those countries. Cruise's spokesperson said the book is false. It's full of lies. London's Daily Mail says legal action is being considered, and even the New York Times, in reviewing the book, says, quote, "You push the limits of responsible reporting and at some points made statements in the absence of any hard information whatsoever." So I guess my question is, how much of this book is actually grounded in fact, and how much is really hearsay, particularly from former Scientologists who have an agenda, they're disgruntled?
Well, I think this has been a very carefully researched book. I've spent 2 years researching it, and as you know, I mean, I'm known for my careful research in all the books I do. And I wanted to explore Tom Cruise both as a man, as a symbol, and to find out what really made him tick. And quite frankly, I've spoken to hundreds of people, and as you've seen from the clips, he's extremely litigious, and also today extremely angry.
But
obviously, but let me finish. But some people obviously will not go on the record to talk about Tom Cruise because they're scared of it.
But the Church of Scientology said to us that they tried repeatedly over 2 years to reach out to you to say, interview us about Tom Cruise if you believe he's such an integral part of our church, that you refused to talk to them. Why would you do that?
Well, let me be absolutely clear about this. I asked for an interview with David Miscavige, who's the head of the Church of Scientology. They refused it. I formally asked for it, and more than that, I was instructed to ask for it by the publisher's attorneys. And so what they're saying is nonsense. And let's face it, they're saying that he's just an ordinary parishioner. Yet today they've released a 14-page dossier attacking the book. How many churches support one parishioner, a lowly parishioner, in that way? As far as I'm concerned, Tom Cruise is inextricably linked to Scientology. And why don't they just come out and say that? Why don't they just come out and say, yes, he is, as David Miscavige himself says,
they're not saying he's not connected to Scientology.
Celebrity.
They're not saying he's not a part of Scientology.
I'm saying that his life is an integral part of Scientology, and that Scientology itself would be a shadow of what it is today if it was not for Tom Cruise.
You're actually saying that he is second in command.
I'm saying he's de facto second in command. And
where do you get that, Andrew? Where do you get that information that he's second in command? Because, again, the Church of Scientology absolutely denies that, as does Tom Cruise's
Well,
people.
it's a nonsense for them to say that, because he is one of the most significant members of the church.
But where do you get the information from? Who inside the church now is saying to you he is in fact second in command?
Oh, people who've worked with David Miscavige, the head of the Church of Scientology, people who've just left, people who've been in executive positions.
People currently in the church?
No, of course not, but people who've recently left. In fact, I've had emails as recently as today people who've said, I've read the extracts on the Today Show, website, all about Tom Cruise and Scientology. I was a member of Scientology. I was a senior executive. I find the book spellbinding, and more than that, I find the book accurate. I stand by every word in the book. You can see how litigious Tom Cruise is. This book has been very carefully researched, very carefully vetted.
Tom Cruise's spokespeople also say that you did not speak with anybody who is currently a friend of his or his wife's, a business associate, anybody in that circle at all. Did you not talk to anybody? Why not?
I spoke to people in the church, people, professional people who've known Tom Cruise for years, people who spoke to me off the record. And like any biography of a political figure or a celebrity, you speak to some people on the record, some people off the record. And let me be clear as well, this is a biography about Tom Cruise's whole life, not just his life inside Scientology. Scientology, as we know, is a very controversial faith, organisation, whatever you want to call it. And I'm trying to place Tom Cruise and Tom Cruise's life in the context of a man who came from nowhere in New Jersey to become one of the most important movie stars of his generation, a man who is shaping the future of Hollywood, not just now but in the future, and who has an agenda as a poster boy for his faith. He's an intriguing character, and I think I've done a mission accurate on Tom Cruise.
Let me ask you about one of the issues that you bring up in this book that has raised a lot of eyebrows, because it concerns his baby daughter. Suri is about to turn 2 years old, his daughter with Kate Holmes. You wrote in the book, true believers were convinced that Tom Spawn would be the reincarnation of L. Ron Hubbard, who was the founder of Scientology. And some fanatics even wondered if the actress had been impregnated with Hubbard's frozen sperm. The Church of Scientology immediately responded to this, saying, ridiculous. In fact, the sperm was never frozen. So again, I ask you, now you're involving a child. Where do you get that information?
Well, then the next sentence in the book says, obviously the thinking was absurd. But let me be clear.
But why do you put it out there then? Because it leaves the thought in everybody's mind.
Because it was talked about in the mass media, including your sister station MSNBC. But more than that, this is what they believe in. They believe in reincarnation. They believe that when L. Ron Hubbard died, they don't even say he died, he dropped his body and went on an exploration around the universe and was due back in 20 years. Now, this isn't me making it up. This is what they actually believe. And more than that, when L. Ron Hubbard's daughter Suzette had a child, he was followed around by Sea Org, by Scientologists who believe that he was the reincarnation of L. Ron Hubbard. They have houses around the world, even complete with his ashtray, waiting for the return of L. Ron Hubbard. They believe in this stuff.
But you're connecting that belief to this little girl.
I'm not. I'm connecting it to the whole hysteria surrounding the pregnancy. And you remember this at the time. There was a hysteria surrounding this pregnancy about the sonogram machine that Tom Cruise had bought to monitor the baby, about the silent birth. This was discussion that went around the world. And in fact, the Scientologists themselves made a lot of hay out of that, because they said, we are now introducing the world to Scientology through the pregnancy of Katie Holmes.
You've been labeled a liar, essentially, by Cruise's spokesperson and by the church itself. Yet in the book, you indicate in several places that you think Tom Cruise is a liar. Is that fair to say? At least misrepresents his past?
I think he's an unreliable witness to his past. And I think that he's changed his past, especially when he talks about his dyslexia, in relation to his faith in Scientology. He says he was cured of dyslexia by Scientology, and in the past, when anyone has ever tried to look into his childhood, he's always used threats and intimidation to stop reporters doing that. I spoke to his former teachers, some of his former pupils, and I discovered that actually he was a slow reader. But by the age of 12, he'd had sufficient help and encouragement from specialist care people who had ensured that he was perfectly okay BC student.
Towards the end of his book, the end of your book, I'm sorry, you quote a former Scientologist, Christian Marquette, as saying that Tom Cruise is one of the most dangerous celebrities in the world. Later on, you say, without quoting anyone, you write, Tom Cruise is compelling and dangerous because he stands for something, extolling the virtues of a faith that is parodied and feared in equal measure. So are you saying that you believe he is one of the most dangerous celebrities in the world?
I think certainly he's one of the most powerful celebrities in the world.
Dangerous?
I don't think this is what Market feels is dangerous.
You use the word too. You say he's compelling and dangerous.
I think in this age of celebrity, where celebrities get a free pass to assert as opposed to argue, where they get access to presidents, prime ministers and politicians, not because of what they know, but because of who they are, then that's a dangerous slide into an unreflective world. We should be testing these people. Tom Cruise, as I argue in the book, is effectively a celebrity advocate. A bit like Bono, a bit like Bob Geldof on third world issues. He's arguing for his faith. He's a poster boy for Scientology. He wants to change the way that the education system is run in this country, the way that mental health is run in this country. I feel, and anybody watching this should believe, that his views should be tested against empirical fact, against the evidence.
Andrew Morton, we're running out of time.